All right, welcome. Hello. Hi. All right, I'm curious, how many of you are actually local to Montreal? Local? You live here? Local? How many traveled far? How many outside of Canada? How many within Canada but really far away? Okay, I really thought I was going to have one on that one. Hi, I'm Audrey Boydston. I'm really excited to spend some time talking about connections with people today. I am from a town called Loveland, Ohio. Love and Life Loveland is actually the website, so it's kind of fun. And I'm excited. I have not been to Canada for probably a few decades. So I am so excited, and you have a beautiful city. It was so fun walking around last night. Even though the real feel was 10 degrees and I felt like I was back in Chicago. I lived there for a while. But everyone's been gracious, and I'm really excited to be here with you today. So the first thing I'm going to have you do is, I went too far. I have a connection activity. So this is kind of fun. These are 5 landmarks from Montreal. The first one on the far left here, who knows what that is? Yes. The Olympic Stadium, yes. What about the one on the bottom to the left? Yeah. The clock tower. Yeah. All right, how about the one in the center middle and the top? Geodesic dome, yes. How about the one on the bottom right? The Cartier Bridge, yes. And then the one to the far right on the top. Oh, you guys said it way better than I could have. Thank you so much. Awesome. We even practiced last night. So what I'd love for you to do is turn to somebody behind you, in front of you, to the side of you, somebody that maybe you haven't met, and talk about how you connect to one of these things. Now, the reason I asked how many of you are from Montreal, you're like, Audrey, I've never seen these before in my life. That's okay. If you haven't, then maybe that reminds you of something else. Or you can just be curious about how other people can connect into that. So we're going to take a few minutes, have a quick conversation on how you connect into at least one of these things, and learn a little bit more about the community of people around you. All right. I saw lots of smiling faces, lots of pointing, that one, that one, that one. So who wants to share one of the things that they connected to on the screen here? Oh, come on.
Maybe I can share.
Sure.
I'm used to travel, and I was always calling my mother from any tower, like in Paris or whatever, right, from a tower. And once I called her from the tower of the Olympic Stadium,
That's
which
amazing.
is not far from home because I'm from Montreal, so she laughed a lot because she was thinking that I was calling from London or something like this, and it was just close by.
That's an amazing memory. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Any others? Yeah. Which?
All right. Well, I worked 7 years and a half at the stadium.
Awesome.
I was in the basement, actually. Was working for an organism was actually cable. So I was technical director for society.
Wow. Thank you for that. Fantastic. Okay.
Was Olympic Stadium to I worked there as for the Montreal Expo, the baseball club when back when I was a student.
Fantastic. So as we round this one out, I want to. Who wants to hear a fun fact about each one of these?
Sure.
Maybe you can help me pronounce them too if I screw it up too. The Olympic Stadium. They nicknamed it the Big O for the donut-shaped frame. And it is the world's tallest incline tower in the world. That's fantastic. The clock tower, it's the exact replica of the Big Ben in London and was a memorial to the Canadian sailors who died in the First World War. The geodesic dome, if I said that right, the biggest monkey bars ever made is what a lot of people call it. I think that'd be kind of fun, but if you don't like heights, maybe not. The Jacques Cartier Bridge, did I say it right? Yeah. All right. Named after the French explorer who discovered Canada in what year? Let's see if you're in the right century. 1534. And then the last one. All right, let's try this one. Marche? Bon Secours? And Dome. This is my favorite. It's actually, the structure was built atop the ruins of the Theatre Royal where Charles Dickens and his band of amateur actors stayed a production on May 28th of 1842. Anyone else read Charles Dickens? Awesome. All right. I've interviewed probably hundreds, maybe almost thousands now of people and asked them what the number one thing is that actually keeps them from being engaged in their organization. I have a top 10 list, but today we're going to focus on disconnection. This by far was the number one. Disconnected to other people that they work with, disconnected from their leadership, disconnected from the vision of the organization, or the purpose, like, why are we even here? Why am I even doing what I'm doing? Disconnected really from having that sense of community. So I'm here to share with you today some of the connection points that I believe are really essential in order to increase people engagement. And I have some techniques I want to share with you on how you can help increase those connections so that people do feel more engaged. These are the few areas we're going to talk about. I put them in groups of 3 for a reason. Each one is related to the other one. So first we're going to talk about values and purpose because I think these really integrate very well together. The mission and vision, and then community growth and learning. So let's kick it off with values and purpose. How many of you would say you could name off the top of your head the values in your organization right now? All of them. Or even a few. Okay, let's say at least 50%.
Some of them.
Some of them?
Yeah, we can name some of them.
Some of them? So that's about 8 to 10 people in the room. I recently asked this question with 430 people in a room and 4 people raised their hands. Think that's a little bit of a challenge? How do we connect into the values of our organization if we don't know what they are? I will tell you on this little exploration I've been on with finding values in companies, I have found that the ones that have them typically have them on the career page. So if you're looking for a job for that company, you might find the values, but the internal employees don't know what the values are and they're not on the site. So one of the things that I'd like to share with you is if you do not know what your values are, that's okay. I don't want you to feel bad about this. What I want you to consider is think about the behaviors that people exhibit in your organization. Typically, that's going to show you what they value. And every leader in every organization is truly showing you what they value by how they act and the behaviors that they have. So I'd invite you to consider what principles are guiding our behaviors in our organization. And so a number of people have started to do that and say, well, I really think that we value transparency because I see it all over the place. People are very open. I also see that we value teamwork and we do whatever we can to protect the teams and get them to help them gel together and stuff. There's some other areas that maybe would be a great opportunity for us that we're not in yet, and I'm looking forward to socializing that with my leaders. So what I've done for each one of these is I found a local company. Now, local meaning they have a presence in Montreal, even if they did not originate in Montreal. So Bombardier, if I said that right, they have an amazing story on their website. They also have planes that are supersonic, which I thought was pretty cool. But they have this is their list of values that they actually list. The whole history of the company, the culture, how it's shaped their values is on this website. So they have about valuing people and customer, having that customer centricity mindset. Performance, but not just performance and let's just get it all done, but make sure that you're delivering the right things at the right time. Excellence, operational excellence, which is all about Agile, which is kind of why we're here, right? We're learning. We want to relentlessly improve on everything. Teamwork. Who likes being part of a team? I love that aspect of Agile too. And then authenticity, being open and honest and giving your true self to your organization. I took a number of classes from Disney Institute, and this quote really resonated with me, so I wanted to share it with you today. They first and foremost, the values of an organization as exhibited by the leaders are really a powerful thing. And creating the system of shared values indicates what the organization stands for, not only in terms of crisis, but also when things are good. We don't lose sight of this no matter what's going on around us. And when leaders show up in ways aligned with this, it allows us to use this lens to look through at the organization and propel it forward. So purpose, why are we here? The million-dollar question. Why do we even exist as a company? You've heard that question probably before. Why do we exist? Why are we even here? And if I don't know why we're here and I'm doing something for my employer, do you think that I'm as impactful, as engaged as if I knew why we were doing this and that potential impact that could be? So Rio Tinto, if I said this one right, they mine for iron. I almost said gold. I don't know where that came from. Maybe the screen. Iron ore, aluminum, all of this. And they have their purpose as finding better ways to provide the material that the world needs. Something super cool about them. Who likes hockey? Come on, we're in Canada. Let's try that again. Who likes hockey? Awesome. All right. So they recently, literally last month, signed a deal that they are going to introduce infinitely recyclable aluminum cups for the Montreal Canadiens at the Bell Center. What? I don't know about you, but I think I'm going to have to come back because I'm really curious about what these infinitely recyclable cups look like. But can you imagine if you worked for them? How cool is that? To know that you could be part of something that really not just changes the dynamics for your customers, but for the whole world. Social purpose. All right, so when you look at this picture, this is literally from Epcot in Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. When you look at all these white fixtures, what comes to mind? What do you think that those are? Sprinklers? Bird's nests. Oh, how did you get that right? Do you know the story? Oh, you know the whole story. This is literally in the walkways where you have millions of customers passing by this every week and all of your employees. What these are, okay, so whoever said birdhouses, do you know what kind of bird it is? It's actually purple martins. And what they do is they fly 3,000 miles every December to lay their eggs in these birdhouses to hatch the following June. And then they fly back and they do it all over again the next December. Now, how powerful is that? Not only if you're a customer, and you know this, which I don't know, they don't have any signs up about it, but if you're an employee and you walk past that every day and you know that what you're doing, whether you are you're a cast member that's helping in this area or this area, but you see this and you know that the company that you work for and the company that you represent is part of something so much bigger than just the people that you see day in and day out. Wouldn't you feel a little bit more connected? To birds too, yes, yes. Hopefully to people as well, yes, to birds and people. All right, so for each one of these groups, I have a slide with some thoughts for you if you want to explore this one further. So the first one that we have on values, reflect on the behaviors that are common among your leadership team. If you're like, I don't have any values, we don't see them, I don't know what they are, that's okay. Start to just observe. See what you can find out by looking at what you see. Identify what those are. Call them out and talk to people. Say, hey, I noticed that we don't have any, but here's some things that I'm seeing. Do you know how powerful that is to go to leadership and say, I see this and I think this is really, truly what we value and you value as a leadership team. Can you validate that for me? Can we have a conversation? And then champion a path forward to create connections to these values. Because if you were on a search for values, how many of you think that other people in your organization could be as well? Probably not by yourself with that. And then purpose, find your why for your organization. Why do you exist? Why are we even here? If I don't know, then I might not be as inspired as I could be. And communicate this. This to me is powerful by facilitating dialogues with other people so that they can see that as well. And they can really find out what their impact is. And then share the impact it's had on you. Second group, mission and vision. Okay. I have seen a lot of companies have a mission that sounds like a vision and a vision that sounds like a mission. And sometimes I really don't understand. I'm a little lost. It feels like it's either a hybrid or it's one or the other. So I'm going to share a couple of different questions for these as well for you to consider the difference between these two. The first one, mission. What do we do? And even extend to that a little bit, who do we serve? What are we actually doing with our time and our resources and our people? Port Montreal. The mission here, when you think about the mission for them, who's their customer? Who's the customer here for Port Montreal? Shipping companies? Who else? Businesses? Customers? Yes, yes. All of you, right? Don't you in some way, shape, or form get things at the store that might have come from this, right? Think of that. So think of the mission here. They are on a mission to build together a more resilient, smarter, and sustainable marine corridor. Read about it. It's pretty intriguing and exciting, the different things that they're trying to do. And if you're going to notice throughout this whole talk, all of this seems to have this environmental piece to it too. Companies are starting to look outside of, these are just my customers. But how is it by the products that we have and the people that we serve? How can we really have that global impact that we want to? Vision. So this is not just the mission of what do we do. The vision is actually where do we want to go? What do we want to become? If I look out into the future, it should look different than where we are now, right? It's not going to be like, oh, guess what, everyone? Let's have a town hall, and I'm going to tell you we're going to be the exact same 5 years from now. How many of you want to work there? So this is all about what do you want to become, looking out into that future. Funny story, in the Uber on the way, I don't know why I was telling the Uber driver to stop when the light was green, probably not smart. I wanted to take a picture. We literally went past the building today for HEC Montreal, and I was so excited. I'm like, I got to get a picture of this as well. So HEC Montreal, their vision, has anyone taken classes from them before or heard of them? Awesome. They want to be a hub of management knowledge to inspire, innovate, and make our mark worldwide. Now, the reason I put this bottom, I'm going to pause for a second. A lot of times we see a vision statement that's kind of lofty, and you're like, oh, that's awesome. I want to come. What does that even mean? Right? So a vision statement can't just be like, this is what we want to do. And what does that look like for us? So they've actually extended it. And they're saying, we're going to do this thanks to different things that we have in place or we're going to put in place. It's the quality and relevance of our teaching and research, something that they're going to prioritize. The influence and engagement to local, national, and international communities. Can you imagine the learnings, even here in this conference? We're international, right? I came from the US, so did some of my colleagues. I love learning from people that are from all over. Different cultures, different languages. I can't speak French, but lots of different ways that we can learn from each other. Have this common language of way of working that we have. And then the other part is the human-centered, responsible, and collaborative approach. So they don't want to just do this in a silo. This is where they want to go, and here's some of the things that they believe have to be in place first. There's this concept that I also learned in that one training, and it's long shot, medium shot, and close-up shot. And what this means is when you think about that future, you have that long shot, you have your vision. I can't stop there. Now I have to create my strategies. That's that medium shot. Here's the strategies that are going to help me get there. Let's start testing things out. What is that market research? What are we learning to help inform where we're going? And the close-up shot is I am seeing what we are creating that is helping us deliver on that mission and that vision. So mission and vision here really recognize the intent and purpose. They each serve a purpose. And being able to differentiate them is pretty powerful. Mission, again, what do we do? And vision, what do we want to become? Where do we want to go? Communicate how values and purpose integrate in this. I think values and purpose are actually that foundational layer. We know how we want to act, what those behaviors are, right? We know our purpose, why we exist. Now we're clear on what we do and where we want to go. And it all builds upon each other. And then create the storyline to show, here's where we want to go, here's our strategies to get there, and this is what it's going to look like. That long shot, medium shot, and close-up shot. So the third connection that I have for you, community growth and learning. How many of you like being part of a community? 20 of you. I'm teasing, there was more than 20. We're part of a community this week, aren't we? How many of you met other people that you hadn't met before? Today, yesterday, hoping to keep in contact with them? And when we think about that, one cool thing about the Agile community is we keep seeing more communities spun up all the time. There's so many opportunities to learn, whether it's a virtual one. I love in person. How many, I know this is an aside, how many of you really love being in person? I think it makes such a huge, huge difference. And so there's such power of community. I've learned this week a lot, not just about myself as I go to conferences, but the material that's been presented. I'm learning a lot about just Canada in general. We're doing some sightseeing, right? Lots of different things that you can do for a community. What happens when you think about it if you have people in your organization that don't have that sense of community? They don't have that team, that that trusted group that they can spend time with and share anything with. Well, how would you rate their engagement? Pretty low. So what can we all do? I want you to take a few minutes, talk to the people around you, maybe somebody new. Talk about that. What's one thing that you could do to help create community in your organizations? Hopefully you're going to learn something from your partner in this one. We'll take just a few minutes on this one. What can you do to help create community? Pictures. Take a picture. All right. All right. I loved all the community building I just saw in this room right now. Who wants to share one idea that they came up with of how you can help build communities in your organizations? Anyone want to share? Yeah.
We have many communities. We have a lot.
You have a lot of communities?
Organization, we have a lot of communities. It's a culture that has been very much encouraged in the recent years, and there are many communities created.
That's amazing. If you didn't hear that in the back, they have a lot of communities, and that actually probably leadership is encouraging those to happen, or people. The culture?
Like, we have a community of analysts, we have a community of scrum masters, a community of project.
Different. Yeah.
Based on rules, but it's a community that the many people from different teams in the same organization.
That's fantastic. Awesome. Any others? Yes. Wait, do we have a microphone that we can? Sorry, I want to make sure that everyone can hear you. I probably should have. Thank you.
Thank you. So we do have communities, but not specifically in our departments. So I was speaking to these two gentlemen behind me. So me, I had some ideas to connect people together around project management, but he came with also this point that maybe something, when you want to create a community, you force people, and this is the intention could be the opposite of what you're expecting.
Sure.
So the idea would be more to ask the question, if we want to create a community, what would be the topics, the ideas we would like to share, and then start with that.
Yeah, fantastic.
So.
Thank you. Let me get that. Was there another? I thought I saw one more hand. Okay, thanks. I'll be the mic runner too. Right, go ahead.
We started with a simple reach out to random people that you might not know, and then we bounced off that with an experience I've been living recently. I do a lot of team building and just getting to know each other because I work with a bunch of teams that don't know each other. And whenever I see that someone shares an interest with someone else that I know has the same interest, I play matchmaker. I'm like, go see that guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Was there an... Okay, I wasn't sure if I saw another one. All right. Awesome. Great stuff. Thank you for that. All right, it's probably a little bit hard to see in this picture, but these are actually pairs of shoes that are hanging from this tree. This is at Bay Lake Towers, and all the skippers who take people from Magic Kingdom to the resorts, and that's their career. When they decide to leave, whether they're retiring or they have another position, whatever that might be, right after their last voyage, they take one more. And they bring their shoes, they take them off, and they hang them from a tree. And this is part of their connection to that space that they've gone past probably hundreds of thousands of times. And it's also, as a company, saying, hey, we remember you, and we are thankful for you and what you've done for us. So we want to remember you by this. So there actually literally is a shoe tree. How powerful is that? To know that your company, even after you're gone, is still like, I want to remember you, and I want you to know how important you were to us. So guess what happens? People leave and they come back.
Take back their shoes?
I know. I don't know about the shoe. I might have to look into that one. Hopefully by then they might have gotten a new pair. But what happened, I've interviewed so many people that are cast members that actually come back. They're like, I was retired. I don't even need to work. But I miss the community. I love this so much. Not just the people around me, not just my employer, but all the customers. This is what gets me out of bed in the morning, and I came back. Pretty powerful. Wouldn't you be engaged if that's how your employer thought of you and really wanted to recognize you? So when you think about your customers, sometimes we think of, this is our product set, this is what we offer them, or this is the service, this is what we offer them. But I want you to think about how you can extend that when you have customers that might have multiple relationships with you. And it's not just like, okay, Snow White, this is in the middle of the night. I run races at Disney, and this is probably 5 o'clock in the morning. And Snow White's like, really, I have to stand next to all these really sweaty, nasty runners and get my picture taken. But no, does she look like that at all? It almost seems like there's joy on her face. And yes, that's me, but thankfully it's a little bit blurred. But when you think about the impact that you're having on your customers, doesn't that create more engagement with you? I know that the more I get to interact with customers and they can share everything, the successes they've had and the learnings, I'm more connected to them. And because of that, by default, I'm more connected to the company that I'm a part of. Growth with human skills. We've all been trained in Agile, right? Okay, formal, informal. We've all been trained somehow, some way in Agile. Hopefully, we are at an Agile conference, I think. So now what? There's only so much you can take, right? And you're like, okay, I know that, I know that, I know that. So how about extending it to other areas? So what I've tried to do, and by the way, soft skills doesn't resonate with people a lot, does it? When you talk, oh, we're going to go to soft skills training. How many people want to sign up? Now, if you really call it what it is, it's human skills. It's not the hard technical skills. It's literally the human skills, like how we interact with one another, how we have conversations with one another, how we innovate together. And so what I've been on this mission to do, a personal mission, is really to try to find all of these different areas that I could improve in personally, and then how I could share that by becoming a facilitator and training others. So these are a couple examples, crucial conversations for mastering dialogue. We know how to in Agile. We have our sprints. We know how to innovate together. We know how to retrospect together. We know how to demo together. But do we really know how to communicate and have conversations that are super healthy all the time? Maybe, maybe not. I found that this was a really good example. Maybe some leadership programs you want to be part of. I found a platform recently that I'm just taking classes all the time now, these small like micro learnings, and learning about negotiation and influence. Do we ever have to negotiate time and people and teams, or do we just have unlimited capacity? We wish we had unlimited capacity. No, we don't. Then we'd have no life. We would just be at work all the time. But how do you negotiate things? What are some of those skills that you can have? How do you influence if you want to influence up? So these are just some examples. Change management, a few of my colleagues talked about yesterday, and change leadership as an example. So lots of different groups there. So informal learning networks is a concept I developed years ago. And what it means is when you work in a large enterprise or even in a smaller company, and you realize that you have a gap in what you know and what you want to know and what you want to learn. And there's an area you're like, oh, I really want to spend some time learning about this. What we did is we spun up these informal learning networks, and it was, hey, I want to learn how to coach more. I found a few people, completely different business unit, that have the skills that I want. Can I shadow them? Can they mentor me? Can we start these informal learning networks? And it was a really powerful thing. So guess what it did for our Agile transformation? The impediments we used to have because we didn't have the skill sets we needed disappeared. And all the leaders were looking at each other like, what? What happened? I didn't do anything. Did you do anything? No. By themselves, all of the teams, when they had a gap in something they needed to learn, we found it. We found other people with those skills. So it was a really great thing bringing in the Agile piece here. So here's a couple of characteristics of the learning networks. Multiple perspectives. I see things one way in my business unit. How do you see them? And I can pretty much almost fully guarantee you there's a little bit of difference in nuances in the Agile transformation from one business unit to another. Anyone else experience that? It's not cookie cutter. Why are you still doing it that way? It was a lot of conversations we had. We tried this. Why don't you try it? Well, we tried this and that did not work. So it was really powerful for us to do that. People connector network is my favorite. I love connecting people. And it's not about me connecting them. I'll connect you and I'll connect you and then I walk away. Because it's not about me. It's about connecting people that want to learn and grow together. Learning moments. All right, so how many of you have somewhere in your garage or somewhere in your house the little blue can with the little red top with the little red straw? For grease, like for screws and stuff, WD-40? So that, interestingly enough, the CEO of WD-40, he recently stepped down after fully mentoring his successor, I must say, calls himself the culture coach and goes all around the world sharing about what you can do to create great cultures in the organization. They had a 96% engagement rate. Isn't that unheard of? 96%. 98% of people said they would recommend that to another person. So what he's created are these learning moments. And what it means is we did something happened. Maybe it didn't go as well as expected. But instead of hiding it or trying to move around it, you're transparent about it. You say, this is what happened and this is what we learned. Same goes for great things that happen. And those learning moments actually can change the dynamics of an Agile transformation. Because not only are we just celebrating that, yay, us, we're awesome, we did all of this. What are some of the things that didn't go so well? Let's bring them out there and let's make sure that it doesn't happen again. I have an example of a development team that actually the night before production of this major release, one of the developers decided to check out some of the code and forgot to put it back in. So 4 a.m, guess what happened? Not good things. So I got into the office at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like, how did it go? And they're like, oh my gosh, they're trying all these mitigation plans. But here's what they did. They figured out what they could do to fix that, all the different options, and they brought them in front of the entire leadership team that morning. Do you know that people are still talking about that, but not about the fact that they screwed up? About the fact that other teams are like, we've kind of done that too before almost, or we're at risk of it. So that was a really powerful learning moment that if they hadn't shared that, you could have had something even worse happen maybe later with another team. So it was really cool to see. So here's my last, consider this. Community, be a community builder. Start connecting people. Connect communities with your customers and your employees. It's gonna raise engagement. And then share some patterns to facilitate innovation that you're seeing. Growth and learning. If you wanna scale up in another area outside of just Agile practices that are gonna help you with that transformation, discover what that is. Start a learning network. The word informal is there for a reason. You didn't need a calendar entry. This isn't I need a formal agenda. And then share your own learning moments, because by you sharing yours, you're going to encourage other people to share them. But if you don't start first, what happens? I'm not sharing them, you're not sharing, right? That whole thing with leadership too. So next step, choose one of these connection areas. There were 3 of them. We talked about values and purpose, mission and vision, and learning and growth. Oh, and community too. Did I mention community is important sometime today? Yeah, once or twice. Experiment with 1 to 2 of those consider this tactics that were on the screen, and then generate the energy to unleash the impact to raise that engagement. I would love to hear your feedback. The QR code will take you right to that. And I think we have time for questions. Thank you. What questions do you have? Oh, Mike would probably be a good thing. Thank you so much. Right in the middle.
Yeah, well, it's around the business values or the values, the company values.
Yeah.
Even if, like, you often see, like, big meetings where the executives come out with the values. It's all nice, fine and dandy. But on the floor or on the day-to-day, you're not seeing that from them. So how do you attack that? How do you address it with them? Because it just makes no sense. That's where people, like, kind of say, oh, eh.
Try to get a new leadership team. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No. What's really powerful and what I've noticed more is especially leaders at the top are very open to conversations about some things like this. Like, hey, could you help me understand, these are the values that we have been told are really important to all of you as a leadership team. Could you show us what that looks like and what that means for us so we know how to behave together? Rather than calling them out, it's more of like being curious. I've had to do that before. Crucial Conversations helps, by the way. That training helped in some of those. But some of it is just having a conversation, because if you don't have a conversation, guess what happens? They continue to do it. There's typically, though, at least one leader that understands it. They're not usually all, here's my values, I'm not going to follow them, but I want you to all follow them. And what happens, too, is if they don't follow them, are their directs following them either? And then are the people that report to their directs following them either? So what happens to that organization? What do they value? Nothing really. And it destroys cultures. And so I love to have conversations. I actually had this happen to me a few years ago. And I went to a number of people first before going to the C-suite. And I said, can you help me understand what our values are? I got, well, I think they're on a wall somewhere. I think they're on a share drive. This is a true story. I'm pretty sure they're in this one room right next to the big room where we meet a lot. I asked over and over again, and guess what they would tell me? Oh, but I can tell you the values from my last company. A lot of them came from the same last company, and they knew exactly off the top of their head what all those values were. So then I went to the C-suite and I said, I need some help here. Can you help me understand what our values are? And recently, new people have joined and said the same thing. What are our values? And so we learned what they were, but I wouldn't have known what those were even without that. And I said, okay, great. Could you help me understand what behaviors you would be looking for from a leadership team with these values? So it's being curious and not calling people out like, hey, these are the values you gave me and you're not doing them. I'm not seeing that from you and I'm not seeing that from your leaders. But it's more of that curiosity and help me understand what that means for all of us so that we know what those behaviors are that you're looking for and we can all be aligned. And yet you will always see some that are not self-aware, and that's just a whole extra probably 1 hour long session that we can talk about. Did that help? Yeah. Okay, awesome. Question on the right. Okay.
I actually have a follow-up to that
Sure.
curiosity, which I completely agree with. But when do you go back from that? Because that could lead to frustration and mental health. Because I have seen colleagues and people who are curious, who are asking the right questions, but sometimes they just don't get the answer. So what do you do from there, I feel? And
Meaning I don't need a microphone. Yes, I don't know why I'm reaching out for the microphone. You mean if they still don't get a good answer of what the values are? People have left organizations because of it. When you think about, we all have personal values, right? Some of us might list them out, some of us might not. We all have things that we value dearly. And the organization's values really need to align with that. And if you're not seeing that there, it could be a mismatch. Now, I'm not saying, hey, everybody quit your job if the values don't match. At the same time, and there's class after class after class that I've taken about this, that if you have specific values and that of the organization doesn't align with that, or you don't even know what they are, that it's probably not the best place for you as a person individually, long-term, to be a part of. You don't want people, and that's what causes that disengagement. I don't know what they are, or my leaders aren't behaving like what our values are. And we want people to be engaged. Our lives are short. We don't have like unlimited, we're here forever. And so you want people in the time when they are working and they're doing their job, you want them to feel like they have a sense of community. You want them to feel connected to the people that are around them. And you want them to feel connected in a way that they know where that company's going, and they want to do that. They feel inspired and they feel like they have a voice and what they believe in aligns with what that company stands for as well. Is that? Okay. Was that a mic drop moment or something? It got really quiet.
No, he's still holding it.
Any other questions? And if not, you just get some extra cool time before the next session. Thank you so much. Enjoy the conference.